Clive James, welcome to 7:30.
My pleasure.
Tell me, of all the things you are and have been, writer, poet, TV personality, all of the many myriad elements to you.
Deep sea diver, astronaut. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Which one for you has been the most important, and what do you think really perhaps encapsulates you as a person?
I'm a writer. Everything I do is writing. It's all I can do. If I hadn't been able to write, I would have been in Long Bay Jail at the age of 18. I'd probably still be there. And yeah, that's what I do. And even when I'm talking to you now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to tell you my secret. I'm writing it in my head just before I say it, testing it out, wondering how it will go over with the audience watching. It's a performance art for me, writing. They're very closely allied, writing and performing. But I'm a writer, not a performer.
But you've managed to project that onto every screen that you've done.
Yeah, that was a lucky break because it actually paid for the groceries. Let's not leave that out, because writers quite often starve. And the kind of writer I am now, when I'm mainly just writing critical prose and poetry, that's a formula for starvation. So I'm lucky that I made a certain name in television and became a recognizable presence, because I think that drew people to my other work.
Welcome once again to another installment of the television talk show experience, which has almost nothing to offer except conversation conducted among three human beings in the presence of a live studio audience.
So I never knocked television, even though those days are over for me.
You're determined to get back to the core of your being, the writing, but along the way, you got terribly sick.
Yeah, these books are all around me, and they'll be here when I go, and I'm that sick. I just don't know when it ends. But in 2010, I got really ill, and leukemia was one of the things I was diagnosed with, and eventually it will switch me off. So it raises the question, what do? Do you lie down, give up, read the Bible, or do you go on as you were, reading and writing? And I've done the second, and I've just done a little book called Latest Readings, which is about the books I've been reading lately. And I could do another volume of that because I'm still reading.
The accent's still there. You've lived here for so many years, but how much of you is still Australian or still resides in Australia?
Large part of what I rather boastfully call my mind is still about as Australian as a lawn full of bindi eyes, and will be right to the end. I write a lot of poems set in Australia.
What is it about that country that draws you?
It's my mission to tell the Australians from abroad in my work that Australia is a wonderful place. I always thought so. When I was young, I never believed that Australia was anything else except blessed. I thought it was a little dull when I was young, but that was because I was a snob. And I learned better when I came away. But if I hadn't come away, I wouldn't have realised that the world is not like Australia, for example. There are whole areas of the world where nothing like Australia at all. And how do you tell the young in Australia how privileged they are? Well, you can't really.
Let's just go back to your childhood, in fact, right back to when you were just born. Your father was a prisoner of war under the Japanese and died, unfortunately, just on the plane trip home.
It's the biggest topic of my life, and it's probably governing what I am even today, even as I sit here talking to you. But there's not a lot I can say about it.
Why?
Well, I think it's too big a subject, and I want to talk about it on paper if I talk about it at all. But I can say this much, is that I thought the life that my father and mother would have had together was cut short, and something of what they might have achieved, I hope that I'm achieving in my work.
It seems to me, when I look at your life, there are a lot of women, one way or another, in your life.
Nice try. This is good stuff, Philip. Keep this one coming.
But it's true, isn't it, that women have played a very big part of your life, more so perhaps than men.
Well, that last bit is true. I was always more interested in women than men. I think I can go that far without getting murdered by my family. That's true. And I think women should get an even break. And I'm glad to say that in my television company, to the extent that I ran a television company, they did. We were very proud of that.
When we look back 5 years ago, when you first got sick, you reordered your priorities. You had to reevaluate your life. Are you a better person for being ill than not?
Yes, no question.
In what way?
I think I've actually wrote it in one of my poems, is that my decline has been the making of me. I forget how I put it. Yeah, simply more reflective. I haven't got the excuse of moving forward just on impulse anymore, which I did, I think, for a long, long time.
You've been telling the world, in a sense, since 2010, that your time is limited, you're on your way out.
Yeah.
You haven't delivered.
Yes, I know, it's an embarrassment, isn't it? I think about that all the time. I more or less promised Kerry O'Brien, I think it was last year now, I'm sorry about this, Kerry, but I more or less promised it would be the last interview and I would totter away and die in the garden. And guess what? I didn't. There has been a change in the last year. My leukemia came out of remission, but this new drug was ready. And now I really don't know when I'll be finished.
So the Dame Nellie Melba of excess
Exactly. Or
continues.
Frank Sinatra, or there's a wonderful comedian here called Barry Cryer, and he was the first one to call his tour the first farewell tour. I'm in the middle of the first farewell tour. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed for talking to 7:30.
It's too good of you.